Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Rachel Klein, and I'll be your presenter today. Today, we are looking at the comparison reports in the donations module. A lot of our reports in donations have similar criteria options. So once you kind of learn the basis of the criteria and how to set up to see the information that you want, if you learn it on one report, a lot of times that information or that criteria will carry over and help you set up other reports as well. So we're going to take some time and talk about comparison reports and donations, how to set those up for you to be able to get out the information and see the reports that you need. All right, let's go ahead and go into donations here. And from donations, up at the top under reports and export, we have this compare and analyze button. Several different reports in here. Each one of these you can customize and manipulate to get out the information that you're looking for. The pledge giving analysis report, out of all of these reports, I would say is going to be the most utilized report that I've gathered taking support calls over the years. Even if you're not a pledging church, this pledge giving analysis report can still give you good information. Okay, so again, even if you're not a pledging church, this report can be pretty helpful. All right, so let's start with this one. First tab you're going to see, and again, there's a lot of tabs on this report, so you have a lot of options, but first tab is going to be this giving and pledging tab. So this is going to be who you're wanting to see, okay? Each of these tabs, as we work through them, they build upon each other, okay? So if you put in criteria on these first three tabs are going to work together to make sure it's pulling the right people, okay? By default, when you come in here, receive statement include is going to be set to all, and gives with family include is going to be set to all. Typically, these are not things you need to change or touch unless you have a very specific request for your criteria based on either receive statement or gives with family, okay? Receive statement. This is a simple checkbox in Manage Givers. I've done webinars on this before. This filter allows you to query on or pull people who are set to receive statement or are set to not receive statement. The only time I've ever touched this on a support call is if people want to see those people who don't have their receive statement box checked because say they're missing some people on their donation statements. This would help you filter to see who those people are that need to have that box checked to get one. Otherwise, leave it on all. Gives with family, even more rarely do I ever use this, but this would be if you want to see people who are set up to give with family, so they're part of a giving unit, or if you specifically want to see those who are not set up to give with family. So again, this is going to be two tools that you would use more so for like a data cleanup kind of thing. But if you're not worried about data cleanup or you're not worried about giving units receive statement, leave it to all and this filter won't come into play at all. Okay. Next thing over here, your date range. It's always going to default to the current year that you're in, okay? So we're going to have a default here of the first of the year to the end of the year. If you want to quickly jump to previous years, this minus year button is a huge help at the beginning of the year when you're constantly having to go back to the previous year and make some changes or updates. Click the minus year button. It only touches the year field and it's going to dump it either back, minus a year, or plus up a year. Okay, really handy tool. A lot of these, and again, these minus plus year buttons are on a lot of different screens and donations. They're pretty handy. Over here on the left, this is where we kind of get into the nitty-gritty of who we want to see on the report, okay? So giving include right now is going to be set to all, and pledging include is going to be set to all. If you are not a pledging church, you don't need to do anything down here. You're going to leave it on all. Excuse me. Under giving include, if you leave it on all, so right now it's all and all. This report is literally going to pull everybody you have in your database that is not marked inactive. Okay. Now, if you want just people who gave within this time frame, you could swap this to an only those who gave option. So whether they gave a penny or more, that person is now going to meet the criteria and be on the report. If they gave nothing, they will not be on the report because we have removed the all option and put it on only those who gave. Only those with giving from. Say you want to do people who gave $200 or more. You could put a 200 in here and then leave the no upper limit box. Oops. If you decide you want a range, you could uncheck the no upper limit box and then put in the second part of your range. Okay? Pretty straightforward there. If you need a report of those who did not give, so people who gave nothing, you would do the only those who did not give option. Okay? And again, keep in mind, this is also correlating with your date range. So make sure your date range is reflective of what you want to see on the report. If you are a pledging church, down here you have some pledging options. So if you want to just see only those who pledged, regardless of whether they've given or not, you would do a giving include of all and a pledging include of only those who pledged. Same thing as above, you can specify with only those who have pledging from a low amount to no upper limit, or you can uncheck the box and put in a range, or only those who did not pledge. You can even take it a little bit further and you can specify, I only want people who have a pledge of a certain frequency. You could also specify, I want to see everybody who's met the pledges, or you can just run a report of those who have not met all their pledges. And then you're going to see the people who have yet to hit their pledge amount for the time frame. Okay? Lots and lots and lots of different options. If another one I see is if you want to see people that have either have given or have pledged, you could do only those who gave or only those who pledged. So this is going to give you people who may have given but not pledged, or it's going to give you people who have pledged but maybe haven't given yet. So this screen, I would suggest you come in here and you just kind of play with the different options, play with the different settings, see what information or what people you want to see on your report, and then hit the print button down here at the bottom right. And that's going to allow you to get an idea of how the criteria works and how it knows who it's going to select on the report itself. Okay. Let's go back here and we're going to do only those who gave and regardless of pledging. Leave my date range as it is. Before we jump to the other tabs, I do want to point out the differences between show giver totals and summary only. If I leave it on show giver totals and I hit print, I kind of like to show the report so you can get an idea of what it's going to look like. This report is going to give you the columns that we selected on the columns tab, which I'll show you in a minute, but these are the default columns that you're going to see. Obviously, this church has pledging information. You can see that very easily here looking at this pledge to date field. If we look down at Morgan here, you can see Morgan doesn't have any pledged information, but in the given to date column, you're seeing each account that they've given to, and then you're seeing a grand total of those gifts. Okay? Prior giving, this is for anyone who's prepaid a pledge, and then given plus prior is going to take the amount given to date and their prior giving and total it together for you. So if someone made a prepaid, so they paid their pledge before the 1st of 2025, that would then be totaled here in the given plus prior column. Over under then is going to give you where they are against their pledge. Okay, so whether they still have an amount due, which would be in parentheses, and then the percentage that they've met, and then same thing, if they've overpaid their pledge, which this person did because it's a positive amount, you're going to see that percentage as well. Okay. Givers tab. This is where you can specify membership criteria. Okay. So donations is made up of people that were entered in membership, and their information carries over into donations, and it's also made up of donations givers. So these are going to be people that solely or only exist on the donation side. So if we use this category box, we're going to include members or visitors. You may have more categories, which is fine if you've set them up. And then down here, we have this include box. If we want to include those people that were just entered in on the donation side, those donations givers, we can check these two boxes. If you want to include membership groups, so these are going to be groups and classes that were created over in the membership module, and those groups or classes give or pledge and you want to see that on the report, you can check that box. And inactive people. So anyone who's been made inactive, whether in membership or donations, if you want to see them on the report, you can check this box. And if they meet the criteria that you've specified on the other tabs, they will show up. Okay? Giver numbers, if you don't use giver numbers, you don't need to touch this field at all. If you do, you can choose to choose those with or without numbers. You can choose to use a giver number range. So say you just want to see numbers 200 to 500, you could do that. You can also create a named range. So if children's envelopes or Sunday school kid envelopes all fall in a same range, you could set up a named range and then you could just select that range and that would only pull that grouping of numbers. Over here to the left, this is where you can put in membership criteria. So if you only want to look at those people that have a status code of full member, or if you only want to look at those people who have a particular UMC status, or say they live in a certain zip code, all of that then can be edited right in here to only pull specific people, okay? If you're familiar with membership reporting, this screen's going to look very familiar for you, okay? Accounts tab. This is where you can select to report on a specific pledge campaign up here at the top, or you can choose specific accounts. These are all of your giving accounts that you have created in the donations module, the different pots people can give to. If you only want to report on particular accounts, you can move them over to the right by either double-clicking or using the arrows here in the middle to move them back and forth. If you don't change anything here, all of your accounts will be a part of the query. Okay? Columns tab. This is where you can go in and really do some customizing. So these are the bolded fields that you see. These are all detail or line item tabs, for the columns. So if I hit print, these are going to be the corresponding columns that we see across the top of the report. The columns in the order you see here matches the order that the columns print from left to right across the top of the report. So just make sure you're seeing those columns that you want to see. If we go down to the last page of the report, it's going to reiterate our criteria and give us a total count. So the nice thing about these reports is if you print them and say next year you want to go run a similar report to compare, you have all of your criteria down here of the specific details or information that you put in on whom was recorded on the report. So this is a great tool or a great way to compare, whether it's month to month, quarter to quarter, year to year, and allow you to rebuild it with identical criteria so you're comparing apples to apples each time. Also, you are going to have this summary pledged and summary non-pledged section along with this grand total line down here at the bottom. If you are not a pledging church, you're obviously not going to have this summary pledge section, which is fine, but this is going to look through everyone who's on the report, and it's going to take their pledge to date, given to date, prior given, given plus prior, over, under, percentage, and give you the totals for that pledged income that you received. Okay. Down here at the bottom, this is going to include any giving that came in from a non-pledger, and it's going to have each account listed out, and it's going to give you the given to date totals as well. And then down here at the bottom, it's going to give you a grand total, which is going to take your pledged and non-pledged amount given and total those up for you down here. Okay. But otherwise, if you scroll up through the report, you are going to see just the detailed information of these people. Okay, pretty straightforward here. All right, I know that's kind of the big one, so that took a chunk of our time. So we are going to go a little bit over, but let's move on to the sort tab real quick. Sort tab you are going to see in a lot of different reports. Membership, donations, accounting, you're going to see it all over. This is going to be the order that your people are going to print out when you generate your report, okay? Giver includes number and name. So if you sort by giver, it's going to first sort in numerical order and then switch to alpha order. If you strictly want alpha order, you're going to want to go with giver name, okay? If you want to sort by total pledged, say descending, we want our big pledgers up at the top, you could do that. And it's going to take whomever the highest pledgers are, and then it's going to sort them down to the non-pledgers. But again, it doesn't hurt to come in here and just kind of play around with the different options. Fonts tab, you're going to see this a lot. This just allows you to customize the font size of your reports. Additional options, these are just some extra settings that you can go in and customize for your, reports. If you want to see the membership indicator on people so you know who's a member or a visitor, or the D indicator for those donation givers, you can do that. Also, if you want to adjust the date range for your giver numbers, so say you want to run a report, but you want to see what the numbers were at a different time, you can do that here. Not a big ask. I don't hear about that a lot, but that option is there. Okay. All right. Pledge giving analysis. That's that. Let's move on to the next report, campaign comparison. This report is a really, really easy way to get a quick snapshot of your pledging information, okay? If you're not a pledging church, you're probably not going to use this because you're not going to have any pledge campaigns set up. But this is a fun report that allows you to easily see information about a campaign. So I'm going to move my pledge campaign over to the right and hit print. And it gives me a really simple, good information report. Who the giver is, what they pledge, what they gave. Very straightforward, gives you grand totals at the bottom. Now, if you want to compare multiple campaigns, like I want to see how my 2025 campaign is looking next to my 2024 campaign, I can add them both over here to the right. Here's that Givers tab again. We're not going to go over this in detail. Functions just the same as the Pledge Giving Analysis Givers tab. Columns tab, again, functions exactly the same as the other one, but the columns are going to be different because we're looking at a different report, right? So this one is going to give us the giver, the amount they pledged, the amount given, but then these last four fields are going to go in and they're going to calculate for us the difference between their 2024 pledge to their 2025 pledge. So if we print this one, it's going to be a bigger report, but it's going to give us a lot of good information. So we're going to see their 2025 pledging and giving information. We're going to see their 2024 pledging and given information. And then these last columns are going to calculate out the differences between the two. Okay, so it's comparing campaign 1 to campaign 2. And then it's going to do the math out for us. So this is a really slick way to be able to see the difference between pledging and giving information from one campaign to the next. Okay, down at the bottom, it's going to give us our totals again, and it's going to reiterate the details or our criteria and account. Okay. You can also come back here to the first tab. You can do totals only, and that's going to even give you a shorter report that's strictly just comparing the difference. This is empty because there's no people. We're looking at an overview of information. Okay. But these other tabs, sort tab functions the same, fonts and additional options functions just as the other ones do on the other reports as well. Okay. All right, that's the campaign comparison report. Let's go back up here and let's look at the giving comparison. So last report is comparing pledging. This report is going to compare just giving between different date ranges. Okay, you can run this report by whatever date range you want. It's completely up to you. I'm going to do it by year. You could do it by month if you wanted to, but you have to add each individual range. Okay, so this one we're going to start in 2023. I'm going to add the range. Then I'm simply going to hit plus year to get to 2024, and then let's hit plus year again to get to 2025. So these are the different chunks of time or giving I want to compare. Givers tab, just the same. Accounts tab, again, just the same. Just depends on if you only want to look at one or a handful of giving accounts. Columns tab is going to be a little bit different. We'll come back to this in a minute. And then the sort order for your people, I want strictly alpha order, and then the fonts and the additional options tab. But the nice thing about this report is you can kind of dive in and figure out how much detailed information you're wanting to see on the report. So do you want all details? If I leave it on that and I click print, oops, what am I missing? Oh, my columns are wonky. Let me fix it. Amount given. Let's do this instead. Okay. All right, so here's a good example. Across the top, we have our years. So here's our 2023 year, 2024, 2025. It's giving us our person, the different accounts that they gave to, and then it's going to compare each year, and then it's going to calculate out the difference here as well. Okay. Good report to see pretty detailed information about each individual giving unit. We could do, back here on the first tab, just grand totals. So say we don't need a specific breakdown of each giving account that they gave to. We just want to see their total giving comparatively for the years. We could do that. Or even less detail, if we don't want to see any specific giver information, we can do grand totals only. And that is strictly going to give us the total amount of giving within each of those years and then work the difference given. Okay. Pretty informative report here, depending on how much detailed information you want per givers or just to generalize for different time frames. All right, let's go down to the STEP report. STEP report is a way, well, just that. It allows you to build out steps and then see who gave or what the giving was within those different increments. So this report over here on the right, you're going to have to build in what specific steps you want to compare. You will only enter numbers in the low column. The high column is going to be calculated out for you by the program. So let's see our first step. We're going to do, oops, hello, a penny. If I could type here, oh my, there we go. And then we're going to hit tab. Hit tab twice, and we're going to come down to the second line. I'm going to do $100. Hit tab twice, come down to the next line. Oops, let's do 5,000 instead. But just pop in here and add your different tabs that you're interested in. And then this column is going to be calculated out for you. So the first step is going to be anyone who gave less than $100. The next step is going to be anybody who gave between $100 and $999.99. Okay. Specify your date range here. Right now we're just looking at it for the year, but again, you could look at it for a couple years. You could look at it for a month. Completely customizable. You can also specify your giving or your pledging, what information you want to see. All these tabs we've already discussed function just the same. It just allows you to come through and filter differently. Columns tab is going to either give you given and pledged or one or the other. It's up to you. If you don't want to see certain information, you just take it off by pushing it back over to the left. Sort order, go alpha, and your fonts and your additional options. But back here, I'm going to do summary only. Let's see what that looks like first, and I'm going to hit print. And this is going to do just that. It's going to tell me how many people gave within that range and then the total given within that step. Okay. If you want detailed information, uncheck summary only, click print, and you're going to get a lot more information about the specifics of that step. Here's your first step. Here's your next step, so forth. All right, that is the STEP report. Let's close this. Let's keep cruising along. Statistical report. This report is very basic, very simple, but it does give you some great information. So not a lot of filtering options on the statistical report. You can come here to the filter tab and you can put in some different information. This filter tab is going to look like what you would see in browse donations, but it allows you to kind of focus in on specific information if you want to. Date range is always going to be set to the current year. You also have some different payment method information. So if you want to just focus in on checks or cash or what have you, you can adjust by checking or unchecking these. This is more of a transaction picker type of screen. Columns tab, not much to do here. It just has total giving and average giving. All right, let's go ahead and print this in the horizontal layout first. And what it's going to do is going to give you a month breakdown for the 2025. And then from here, it's going to then show you each day. So these are the different days or date of the month that someone gave. So you had a batch on the 5th, you had a batch on the 12th, you had a batch on the 19th and the 26th of the month. And that just gives you the total and the average. Okay, and then again, here is your transaction count, total donations within the period. Now, if we close out, you can include month totals. And it's going to give you these totals down at the bottom. Or I should say at the right, the end, not the bottom. And then if you want to see those first in the front, you can check that show month total first, and then they're going to be up here instead of at the end. And then down here, if you don't like the horizontal layout, you can go with the vertical layout. It's going to be same information, just in a little bit of a different format if you prefer this.